Hello, everyone. I am Howard Martin with HeartMath, and I'm here now at our HeartMath facility in Northern California. And I want to, first of all, say that I appreciate the opportunity to be a part of this wonderful program and have an opportunity to share a little bit about the work of HeartMath, about what I see taking place in the world today, about what I think is most important now for each and every one of us to do, and what we may be able to expect to see as we move forward into the future. So to begin with, it's obvious to everyone who I'm sure is watching this program that we are living in an extraordinary time of high-speed change. Never before in the history of humankind has there been more change happening so fast, ever. And so that is creating great opportunity. It's also creating a lot of chaos and confusion. Most of what we see and often have to focus on is the chaos and the challenges that we see so clearly that the world is facing. Through the modern media, through technology, like the technology we have here right now, we're able to see into so many of the world's situations much more clearly. So we begin to see where there are points of tension, where there's conflict, where there are extraordinary challenges that we haven't faced before as a human society. Like COVID, for example. We certainly have the war that's happening right now, which is taking a lot of our consciousness and attention. And as we begin to look at the world through that lens, it can look rather dire. Perceptions of what's happening in the world can look like the world is not going in the right direction, that the challenges are outrunning the solutions. I do understand that perception, and I have a compassionate understanding for people who see the world that way, and it's quite understandable why someone would. At the same time, I do see another world emerging because the energetic momentums that are driving all this high-speed change and exposing the world's problems are also giving us the greatest opportunity we've ever had before to grow, to learn, to change, and to evolve. And I also see people all around the world who have changed and are changing and are committed to growth and are committed to serving the world in a different way. I see extraordinary acts of kindness and care and compassion. I see innovation taking place. I see new ideas emerging. I see new actions being taken by people all over the world. So I see this other momentum happening as well. When I step back and really get a sort of top-down view of where I see the world going, I think we're actually headed in the right direction. That some of the problems we're facing today have to be dealt with. They are coming up for us to take a deeper look at them. An example that I'll give now is that, with the war that's happening in the Ukraine, there are hundreds and hundreds of millions of people around the world who have stood up, who are offering their care, offering their compassion, and who are basically saying, war is not an option anymore. War is not the way in which we need to solve our conflicts. So there's a strong voice to that side of that situation that is emerging in the midst of the horror that we see taking place through the war. So that's a lot of energy. That many people that are focusing on a different way of dealing with conflict and who are offering that type of compassionate care, it is evolving the world. It is accelerating that new consciousness that I believe is emerging in the world. So I guess what I'm saying is I kind of see two worlds happening at the same time, on the same planet. There's two different worlds, two different perceptions. The question now becomes, which do we identify with the most? Yes, there are going to be days when we watch the news that we feel the weight of the problems. There are going to be times when we feel more connected to our best self, that we begin to feel a lift in our spirit, and we see a new perception on things. So it becomes a matter of our personal choices. Which way do we go? Where do we put our energy? Where do we put our consciousness? Where do we put our attention? To make those type of choices, it requires more than logical, linear intelligence. Logic, when it looks at the world, looks like the world is blowing up. But that's not the only perception, as I mentioned a minute ago. It requires a different kind of intelligence, and that intelligence is emerging. And here at HeartMath, our work for over 30 years now has been on understanding this new intelligence and then offering tools, techniques, training programs, technology, lots of different tools and assets to help people evolve into a new level of awareness and consciousness. The consciousness we speak of is called heart intelligence. It's an intelligence born from what we call for thousands of years heart. Heart has been around for a long time. HeartMath did not invent heart. What we have done, as I mentioned, is put together a system that people can use to unfold more heart in their life. When I speak about heart, what I'm talking about are the qualities of the heart, the emotional qualities and the intuitive qualities associated with this understanding of heart. My life's work has been an exploration of heart for many, many years now. But what I've learned is that heart is really at the core of our true being, the core of who we truly are. It's our true, authentic self, the real us, not the assumed self, not the personality self, not the self that we sometimes try to create to please others, not the self that's built on our insecurities and our false assumptions about who we are. It's our deeper, real source of who we are. Heart is also a high-speed intelligence. It is, in fact, intuitive. It operates beyond the normal intelligence bandwidth of logic, for example. Logic's important, but heart intelligence expands understanding and awareness. It is high-speed. It is intuitive. It does offer guidance and does offer inner signals of choices that we make and directions we need to go about big situations and little situations. And it's constantly there, available for us, informing us of the choices that we need to make, moment to moment, day to day. When I speak about heart intelligence, I'm also talking about an intelligence that is the birthplace of some of the emotional qualities that we really like the most, the ones that are most beneficial to us, the ones that can give us the best outcomes in our life. They would be emotional qualities like care, appreciation, kindness, patience, compassion, dignity, honor, courage, love. All of those type of high quality emotions are the very best that we can experience in life. And to me, they are born from this intelligence of the heart that I've spoken to. Heart is like the source of our self-security. It's the place inside that we often go to when our challenges seem to be too big to figure out. When that happens, we usually go deeper within ourselves to try to reach some understanding about what to do about the challenges that we face. For many people, they would say meditate or they would pray. For others, they may just go take a walk in the forest or a walk on the beach. Or maybe they get into their car and they drive off into the night and they're looking for something a little deeper. And when they look a little deeper within themselves, they begin to find what we call heart intelligence, the source of wisdom, the source of intuition, the source of our true self-security, a place inside where we really become more of who we truly are. And so in the midst of the changes we're seeing in the world, in this shift in consciousness, we are seeing an emergence of more heart and more heart intelligence in the world as well. The emergence of heart in a new context is really part of the evolutionary imperative of our time. It's not just a nice thing to do. It's not soft. It's not sweet. It's not sentimental. It's powerful. It's dynamic. It gives us the ability to really have the resilience we need to meet the challenges that we face in life. And all that is evolving very, very quickly as well. One of the most important contributions I think we've made here at HeartMath is giving heart a grounded empirical understanding. And we've done that through using science. Many, many years ago, when we started HeartMath, now over 30 years ago, we recognized that we had our own inner experiences of heart and heart intelligence, that was evolving in us, and that we felt that it held a key to the challenges that the world was facing and was going to face. And so we began to put the system together, the HeartMath system. We also recognized that we needed to characterize heart differently. That heart had been talked about for thousands of years and had been sort of held into the confines, respected confines of spirituality and philosophy. That we needed to give it a practical understanding. We needed to build a bridge between what people felt spiritually about heart and day-to-day living where it was needed the most. we chose science to be the bridge. So we started doing scientific research back in the early 90s, trying to understand the physical heart better. What was the physical heart doing? Obviously, it pumps blood. We all know that. But was it doing something more? And what our scientists found is that the heart was actually a very important information processing center in the body. That your physical heart was sending signals to your brain that activated higher perceptual centers in the brain. It was sending hormones to the body. It actually produces hormones, regenerative hormones like oxytocin and DHEA that had a lot to do with our health and our performance and our overall well-being. We also learned something very important, that the heart had a magnetic field. This magnetic field is created by the beating heart. It produces a lot of electricity. It produces the most electricity in our body than any other part of our body. It produces enough electricity that it does create a magnetic field that extends beyond our skin out into space about 1 meter. So we're surrounded by this field created by our heart. And it's through this field that we communicate. We communicate energetically. We connect energetically with others, with nature, with everything in life, with life itself. It's being connected through this energetic and magnetic field produced by the heart. Now, our scientists have worked with universities. They've worked with lots of other researchers and scientists around the world. It's not just our own research. We have been an important contributor to that research. But science is now showing that the physical heart is more than just a slavish blood pump, that it is very dynamic and very important to how we function as human beings. So, as we began to learn more about this heart-brain-body communication and about the energetic magnetic field that it produces, we begin to develop more access to the higher heart intelligence qualities. It is through this field that we connect to the field of information that we generally call intuition, for example. To me, intuition is a field of information beyond the barriers of normal time and normal space. It doesn't go through the same stepping down process to reach understanding. It's more direct, it's more immediate. And so it's through learning how to activate more of the heart's magnetic field, to bring it into a more ordered and coherent state, that we begin to integrate more of the qualities of intuition into our daily life. So science has played an important role in what we do. And our science has expanded far beyond the physical into learning about social coherence, about what happens when groups of people begin to operate more from the intelligence of the heart. And all the way now into global coherence, understanding our energetic relationship to the energetic fields produced by the earth itself. That we all are in this vast field of energetic connections between all living systems that extend not only from this planet, but beyond our planet. And we're unfolding that now scientifically to give people an empirical, science-based understanding of the potential they have within themselves, which is to learn how to better activate the intelligence of the heart. This is important because I think it's that type of intelligence that's needed to begin to solve some of the challenges we face in the world. And one of the most important aspects of that is something that sounds very simple, something that can sound sort of just soft or sweet, but it's not. It's about the power of compassion. Compassion is the need of our times. Compassion is a powerful energy that understands what others are going through, but does not allow us to sink into the despair that they may be experiencing. It's a nurturing, powerful, regenerative, uplifting heart quality, and it's necessary right now to solve the world's problems. A simple statement that I'll make, it's actually made by HeartMath's founder, a man named Depak Chopra, who often says that the biggest problem we face today is that we do not know how to get along. Simple. We need to learn how to get along better with each other. To do that, we have to learn to suspend some of our biases, some of our judgments, some of the separation that we choose to have about what we don't like about others, or a non-accepting attitude about the differences in others. These are all the things that block learning to get along. What can dissolve that block and allow us to get along better is compassion. From a more compassionate perspective, we begin to tolerate more. We begin to judge less. We begin to accept people's differences. We may not agree with those differences, but we can learn to accept them. That's who they are. That's the way they think. That's what their culture taught them. That's what their belief system evolved into. And we become more allowing through the power of a compassionate attitude. So, developing compassion is one of the things that I'm going to suggest now as an advanced modality for solving world challenges and world problems. As we develop that within ourselves, it amplifies. It creates a wave that goes out to the world that allows others to learn to feel more compassionate. Compassionate with their friends, with their coworkers, with their significant others. Compassionate towards the people that they interact with who don't have the same belief system as them. All of that begins to amplify, and it's a wave that creates positive change at unseen levels and seen levels. And that is actually happening right now. It's actually going on. I see it happening all around the world as I observe the world through a different viewpoint. So compassion and the development of compassion is one of the keys that will allow us to access the type of intelligence we need to look at problems differently. It will help us to magnetize more solutions to the challenges that we seem to be facing. All of that will come as we begin to develop more of the qualities of the heart, and especially of the compassionate heart. So, in essence, I would like to say that, I hope that what I've shared with you so far today is that it gives you an uplifting spirit, because you must acknowledge through having compassion for yourself that you're a good person and you're doing the very best you can at a challenging time in global history. That the future is not as bleak as it may seem. That a new world is emerging. A new and different and better world is emerging, and it is coming into view. And that you play a part in that. Every change you make, every act of kindness, care, and compassion that you show has an effect. It all counts. And that starts with having compassion for yourself. The times when you feel that you're not getting it, that you're not good enough, that you've made too many mistakes, that you haven't not treated others the way you'd want to treat them, all those feelings are normal and natural. But when you find yourself there, go back and have a talk with your own best friend who lives right here, your heart, and offer yourself some compassion to recognize again that you're doing as best you can and you're doing fine. And you just keep moving forward with meaningful intent to manifest more of that true self that you really are, and then offer that self to the world as a gift. And that's the greatest service that you can do. And as more people do that, the quicker we'll learn how to create this better world, and the quicker it will come into reality, not just conceptual. And I believe that we're on the right track, that it's happening right now, and that we all play a very important part in it. And so thank you very much for listening to me, and I'm hearing a little bit about HeartMath and a little bit about my perception on where the world is, where it's going, and what we need to do to create a new and better world.
Thank you. It's perfect. But I have, like always, few questions. First, you mentioned
Okay.
about heart intelligence and about intuition intelligence. This is the same, or you see differences between these two things?
Well, intuition is a part of heart intelligence. It's an important part, a big part of heart intelligence. Um, the emotional qualities are also part of heart intelligence, for example. Uh, the emotions that I mentioned, like more love, care, compassion, they're part of heart intelligence. The manifestation of that intelligence is often intuition. Intuition is like a direct knowingness. It bypasses a lot of the steps it takes to reach understanding. Very often it's something people feel. They feel I should be doing this, or I should not be doing that, or I should not go here, or I should go there. It's a sensing that we have. And intuition is a big part of what happens when we learn how to develop heart intelligence. From the development of heart intelligence, we access more of the intuition that's there. I see intuition as always being there. It's like a field of information that's there. It never goes away. We go away from it. But when we return to the qualities of the heart, manifest more of those in a practical way in our life, the field is there. We access more of it. And then intuition becomes more natural to us in a practical way, not mystical, but very practical in how we live our lives.
And how we can do it? How we can develop our intelligence, our intuition? What do you think? What is the best and the shortest way? Because we didn't have too much time, especially the change of paradigm, etc., etc.
The best way to access more intuition and develop heart intelligence is to make a more conscious effort to activate and demonstrate the emotional qualities of the heart. For example, being proactive in appreciating and showing gratitude would be an important step. Rather than focusing on what we don't have in life, focus on what we do have in life. Be grateful for what you have in life. Be appreciative of the gifts that life offers. That's an example. Another would be to offer more care. Care is a regenerative feeling. It feels good to the person sending it and to the person that's receiving it. Be more caring. Offer more care to others in situations. I mentioned compassion. Certainly having more compassion rather than cutting people off because of their differences. Expand that compassion. Try to reach some understanding of why people and situations are like they are. Showing more kindness is another example. Just being a little kinder as we walk into the world. I'll give you another. Patience. Be more patient. Let things flow. Find a rhythm with life. More patience. Manifest more patience, especially when you feel a tension of impatience. If people do that with more consistency, you don't have to make it a big deal. Doesn't mean they have to go meditate for hours a day or any of that. Just start manifesting more of those qualities of the heart, but doing it intentionally, not just letting it happen, but proactively doing it. That will open up the doorway or the window into the intuitive field. That's the quickest and easiest way to access more intuition is through manifesting more of the emotional qualities associated with the heart and putting them in to how you interact with life and with each other.
It's interesting because if I understood properly, you say that the beginning of the creating this compassion world, the beginning of the creating this the world full of people with big heart intelligence, it started with understand my own emotion, understand the way how I project them to the world, and learning how to feel somebody's emotion. Can we say that this
Well, you want
is
to learn,
something like a first step, or I am wrong?
it's a great step. I think that we have to look at emotions a little differently. Emotion is sometimes looked at as weak, or it's looked at as something that people want to avoid. They don't want to look at their emotions because they feel like they're going to discover pain and discover old emotional memories, that type of relationship to emotion. Emotion is actually a great gift. It gives us the ability to experience life very differently than any other living system, really, because we can feel. We feel so many different things. And so it's a great gift to have this gift of feeling, but emotions need to be understood. The first step in that is to observe your emotions. What are you actually feeling? If you're watching this video right now, just slow down for a second. What are you actually feeling? There's always emotions that are there that are running under the surface. And so we begin to observe our emotions in a more refined way. And as we observe them, if we find that there are emotions that are not serving us well, like frustration, anger, sadness, those type of emotions, just go back to your heart and begin to generate emotions that would not be that. For example, if I find that I'm complaining about a lot of things in a day, my attitude is a complaining attitude. I don't like this. I don't like that. I wish things were different. I have to recognize that. I observe it. I go, wait a minute, Howard, you're complaining a lot today. And so instead of complaining, I began to look for areas in my life that I can appreciate rather than complaining about what I don't have or what I don't like. I start looking for things that I can appreciate. And that's consciously making an emotional shift. But the first step in that is you have to want it. You have to want to see what emotions you're feeling. And then you have to be willing to pause at times, slow things down a little bit, and to actually observe what you're feeling. And from that observing place, you can then begin to make better emotional choices. Emotional choices that you're making, but emotional choices that will probably serve you better in where you're trying to go in life.
Very interesting. And I know that HeartMath, you are doing kind of the measurement of the heart intelligence of the world, of the. Can you say me more about this?
Yeah, with our science mission, we looked a lot at heart brain body communication, and we found that the heart is communicating. Well, the language of the heart, so to speak, can be seen in looking at what we call heart rhythms. There's a medical name for that. It's called heart rate variability analysis. It's looking at heart rhythms, not just the heart rate like a fitness monitor. It's looking at the timing between our heartbeats. So these very complex patterns are there of how the heart is beating, subtly beating. The heart rhythms are reflective of the type of communication going from the heart back to the brain and to the rest of the body. And so as we begin to look at these heart rhythms, we can see the term we use is coherent, how coherent or incoherent they are. Higher coherent heart rhythms are beneficial. They're sending signals to the brain that are opening up the higher perceptual brain centers. Those coherent heart rhythms are good for our nervous system. They're good for our physical heart. They trigger the release of hormones into the body that regenerate us. Incoherent rhythms have the opposite effect. They begin to shut the brain down. They're not good for our physical body. So we develop techniques that can help us learn to shift these heart rhythms, and we incorporate those in all of our training programs. But we also develop technology. Measuring heart rate variability was done with very expensive medical equipment. What we did all the way back into the late 90s is when we released our first product, is we took that heart rhythm analysis and turned it into uh, programs and products that people could have, affordable products. The one that's most popular now is called the Inner Balance Trainer. It's an app that you download from your favorite app store. You go to the app store and you download the Inner Balance Trainer, and then you purchase a sensor. You can buy sensors from HeartMath. There are HeartMath product distributors all over Europe, HeartMath Benelux, HeartMath UK, HeartMath Deutschland, and other places. And you purchase a sensor. The sensor attaches to your ear, allows you through the app to see your heart rhythms. The app actually calculates those heart rhythms, determines how coherent they are or incoherent they are, and then there are training tools in the app, techniques and guided exercises that give you the ability to learn to create more coherent heart rhythms and experience those benefits. So the language of the heart is looking at heart rhythms. Techniques can improve those heart rhythms, and we have technology that can measure those heart rhythms.
Amazing, but you did it with because this is what I heard that you did it. You measured the coherence of the Gaia of the Earth. How you do it? You measure coherence when it was very important. Yeah.
Well, that's a different project, but I will explain that one. Be glad to. Through our nonprofit, the HeartMath Institute, we launched a program about 8 years ago, 8 or 9 years ago, called the Global Coherence Initiative. And it was a program that we launched to bring people together from around the world, all around the world, to use their heart focus and their care and their intention to have an energetic influence on consciousness. It helped lift the spirit and vibration in consciousness so that people could learn how to make better choices and how the world could learn to operate differently. Um, it's heart math, so we bring science to whatever we do. So we knew this. We knew that the Earth produced energetic fields. The Earth itself, our physical planet, produces two big energetic fields. One of those is a geomagnetic field. The other is called the ionosphere. And these two energetic fields surround our entire Earth, and they provide a protective layer around the Earth It protects us from incoming space weather, solar radiation, solar winds, cosmic rays, those type of influences. So they protect us from those. And without these fields, the Earth would not exist with any life on it. Now, science also knows, and a lot of science has been done on this, that these fields are constantly changing and constantly fluctuating. And that as they change, they influence human health and behavior. These fields are impacting the way we think and the way we feel and the way we act. Societally, individually, all of that is being influenced by the Earth's energetic fields and the changes in these fields. So we developed very sensitive technology that can measure these changes. And we have deployed global coherence monitoring sites at strategic locations around the world. And these sites are sending data back to our research labs here in Northern California. And we are observing the changes that are occurring in the Earth's fields and then correlating them with changes we see in society and changes we see in the physiology of people. We also are taking this further. We have a hypothesis, and let me define hypothesis. A hypothesis is not a theory yet. It just means that you have a belief that there may be something true. And so then you begin to do scientific research to prove it or to disprove it, or a neutral understanding, prove or disprove a belief. The hypothesis we have is that our emotions collectively, collective emotions of all the 8 billion people on the planet are actually impacting these fields. That they are creating changes in the fields as well as the other influences on the fields. For example, when there's a major event that happens in the world, like let's say, a terrorist attack, start of a war, or it can be positive things like, compassion, big release of compassion during an event, or let's say the start of an Olympics, things like that. We believe that there can be measurable changes seen in the field. Experimentation is going on. We do not have definitive proof yet that that's true. Experimentation continues. Data is constantly being analyzed. We are looking at the hypothesis that we, the 8+ billion people on this planet right now, through our emotions, through what we're putting through our own heart's field, is actually impacting the Earth's fields. And so it's important research, because if it proved to be true, it would put us in a different place in terms of our self-responsibility. That what we do individually counts, it influences, and what we do collectively has a big influence on how the world operates. And this just gives a scientific link to that understanding that I think will be very validating for many people. And as mentioned, also puts us in a new perception or a new position of understanding our responsibility.
Amazing.
So that's called the Global Coherence Initiative. If you want to know more about that, you go to the HeartMath.org website. There's 2 HeartMath websites, HeartMath.com, which is the for-profit company that I'm an executive in, and HeartMath.org, which is the HeartMath Institute. HeartMath.org is where you find out more about the Global Coherence Initiative.
It's amazing what we are doing. 2 last questions. What do you think, in a best scenario, how far we can get? How far we can go like a human race? In a best scenario.
Best scenario, I believe we can go really, really far. I think we're at the end of the beginning right now in the unfoldment of consciousness, meaning that we've just gotten started. Big changes are happening very quickly. We're in the early stages of that. But I think that we are evolving as a species at super high speed, right on down to changes in our DNA, that we are becoming something different, and it's happening relatively quickly. It doesn't mean it happens overnight. It doesn't mean it happens in 10 years or 20 years. It takes time. But the progression is moving very, very quickly. Where that can go is I think we'll develop a world that operates from a different dimension of understanding, that we will move into a higher dimensional planet in our future. And it won't take forever to get there. It won't be, as I said, overnight. It's not going to take thousands and thousands of years to do it either. It's happening quicker than that now. and the planet and the way the world functions, the values that we use, the way business is conducted, the way government's conducted, the way legal systems work, the way technology works, the way healthcare works, all of that will be something beyond our imagination. We can't see it yet, but we sense it. We don't know what it is quite yet because it's a different dimension of existence that we've never had in the world before. And I believe that's happening. So how far can it go? Wow. It can go so far, it's beyond our imagination of how far it can go. We can't see it yet, but it's beyond anything that we can think of right now. It's beyond our imagination. And I see it already beginning to take place, which is the exciting thing about it all, is that we are moving that direction right now, high speed, moving in that direction.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's amazing time. I think it's the best time in the human race so far in our history.
I would
Then,
agree.
if we can, if we have chance to achieve this beautiful world, which you mentioned about, uh, what is the most important question which we should solve now? The question which you think we should find the answer if we want to achieve this paradise, new
I think
conscience.
the most important step we can take now is to learn to begin to dissolve the separations that we have between each other. If we begin to dissolve the separation, then we begin to come together more coherently as a whole. As we come together as more of a coherent, functioning whole, it begins to draw in the other solutions that we need. Obviously, we have to address things like climate change. We certainly have to address war and conflict. We certainly have to address disease and poverty. Well, that's a big one, poverty. And all of that has to be addressed. The way we get there is through dissolving separation, learning to come together, learning to cooperate differently. That's the key. If we do that, the rest will unfold. But if we don't do that, the rest can unfold. How can it unfold? If we're constantly fighting, constantly bickering, constantly challenging each other, constantly separating and dividing, how could those things manifest? That's the question. So for me, the most important thing we can do is to learn to begin to reduce or dissolve the separations between each other. And that requires heart. That's going to require an opening of the heart, not the shutting down of the mind. It's going to require an opening of the heart to want to include and cooperate. As we do that, the solutions to the bigger challenges that we face are going to begin to show up. They'll show themselves, and then we'll have the ability to take action on them. Reduce the separation. And that starts right with ourselves. Always working to reduce the separation in me. Separation between my regular old personality and the real, true, authentic self that I am. So it starts with each individual. Expand that into your relationships, into your interactions, and your social contacts, your workplaces, your communities. Move it out. Try to create it on a bigger scale through the organizations you're a part of, the initiatives that you're involved with, all of that. But learn to dissolve the separation, and that's the key right there to moving into this new and very different and unimaginably beautiful world that I think is coming.
Thank you very much.